All right, Bill McCormick of Sugar Golf. How are you? And welcome to Gripping Golf Podcast.
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Yep.
Really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. No, seriously, thank you for taking time out of your busy day. Could you believe the Masters? I mean, it's Tuesday here in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Tuesday everywhere.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
To see, I mean, how many years it's been going on, 80 plus, and to get a record like what DJ said is just unreal.
Yeah.
So it's very cool to see.
Yeah, I thought there were a couple things that I thought the record, the lowest score, I thought was incredible. The one that stood out more to me was the 4 bogeys over the week, setting that new record. I just couldn't believe. Like, first off, they had to announce it as he was going to like the 18th tee box, and I just was thinking, oh gosh, here it is. They totally just jinxed him.
Right, because it's like he's got no pressure there to get a birdie or to get a par, and you know, to have history on the line there, it does feel like they set him up to be jinxed.
Yeah. And personally, I thought it was the calmest I've seen him look in a long time. I didn't think that he was, going back to like the U.S. Open, I still think at Chambers Bay, I think he did look calm, but at the same time, missing the short putts like he did, there was no, I don't feel like he was jittery at all. From my perspective.
Chambers Bay, was that the one that he 3-putted on 18 from 20 feet? Okay.
Yes. And then Spieth, that was 2015. So that was the year that Spieth went on his run.
The year of Spieth.
Yeah, the year of Spieth. Yeah. So Spieth kind of came from behind because Spieth hit that 3-wood on 18 and he got it pretty darn close and he made par. And then Dustin Johnson 3-putted to basically lose it. So I think it was to force a playoff. It would have forced a playoff and then it took him out of it. And so then Spieth was the winner, which is crazy. But yeah, I didn't see any of that nervousness. And nervousness is probably not the right word. He's a professional golfer. I don't think these guys really get a lot of nerves when they're playing. They just automatic, but he seemed pretty darn good.
Well, he had said something too in his post-round interview. I can't remember if it was in Butler Cabin or on the course afterwards, but he's like, oh no, I'm always nervous. I'm always nervous in final rounds. And I, as a not a professional athlete, you see somebody say that and you're like, do we have different definitions of nerves?
Yeah. I'm nervous just playing with my friends on the first tee.
Yeah.
It's like, it's always my turn. Oh gosh. They throw the tees in the air and I'm like, please don't go first. Please don't go first.
Yeah. And if there's a group behind you, it's just like panic. I can't imagine like teeing off at Augusta, just how much of a nightmare that must be.
Oh my gosh, I've seen so many memes this week. I feel like it's always during the Masters week. They talk about that little meme that shows up they show 18 tee box from the back where all the people are leaning in and it's so narrow and they're like what it feels like when a group plays through you. You're like so nervous and it just feels like everyone's staring at you.
Yeah.
What'd you think of seeing Augusta without the fans? What was that like for you?
I mean, I thought it was awesome. It is funny. I still play whatever the latest PS3 game was for PGA. I think it was like 2014. But I still play that all the time, and so I'll be playing Augusta for the most part. Augusta, St. Andrews, Pebble Beach. So I was joking to a couple of my buddies over the weekend. I'm like, I feel like I know this course just because of how often I play it on my PS3, my old PS3.
That's
and
hilarious.
So, I'd be sitting there on Sunday and my wife, who, loves to sit there and watch golf with me, but isn't as obsessed with me. And I'm kind of like nudging her, like pointing. And so, they'll miss a putt high or something. I'm like, man, how do they not know that break? Like I've seen that putt 100 times.
That's hilarious. I've never even thought about the fact that, that's exactly what we could be doing is playing these video games. And we, maybe that's what Dustin Johnson did. He played the video game and he was just so not under, I've been here, just make this swing. Yeah. I thought 16 looked especially weird to me from the back, like with it, because typically there's all those fans on the left-hand side and there was nothing. And it just I probably don't pay attention to the course enough each year to pick up on all the differences, but it was, it felt like it was still the Masters. It was a little bit different to see, the different areas of the golf course that you don't get to really see because there were fans. But the other thing is I think it's just a crazy time for it. Like I struggled with the rounds not completing on Thursday and Friday. That was just kind of weird to me. Like, and I felt like they started early enough, just they couldn't fit everyone in time because of the daylight running out. But that was, what did you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, so did they expect the rounds were going to end late, or was that a result of the weather delay on Thursday?
Well, Thursday there was the weather delay. That's right. I forgot about that. It was 3 hour. That's right. There was that 3 hour weather delay. And so that must have backed him up, which caused then the ripple effect into Friday
Yeah,
and then into Saturday.
yeah,
So,
but that was frustrating.
mhm.
I'm a big Matthew Wolf fan.
Yeah.
I really think between him and Morikawa,
Yeah.
and there are a couple other guys in there. I mean, Sung J M over the weekend was incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
But I've always been a big fan of Wolf. Just he stands out because of his swing, and
Hmm.
he got off Thursday and was just on fire. And I think he got to 3 under, and then woke up Friday morning and just collapsed. And then he had to go play his Friday round immediately after that.
Hmm.
So I think it certainly benefited some players, and it really killed some other players who were hot on Thursday and then had their round cut off.
Yeah.
Um, but I know like Tiger, he got his round cut off and he had a really tough like cut shot on 11, and so
Hmm.
he got to go to bed and then wake up the next morning and go out on the range and practice that shot for an
Yeah.
hour, and
Right.
then ended up getting a par. So um, certainly unusual, but I think at the end of the day, seeing DJ just run away with it, it's like I couldn't have foreseen anyone being able to do anything about that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he was a clear favorite going into it. I felt like we were going to see the Bryson show a little bit, at least from my just because there was so much hype, and maybe that's what why he didn't play as well. But I
Yeah,
think it's interesting to see what he's doing. First off, just kind of not really reinventing the game, but just thinking outside the box is maybe the best way to say it. Of like trying to be a little bit different. And
yeah,
I mean, but it's crazy to watch him hit the ball sometimes, and where he ended up. Like the was it three on the Friday round where he lost
yeah,
the ball to the left, and that was a little bit hard to watch because you're sitting there. It's like all the cameramen people were like, it's right there. And they weren't looking in the right area. And then he
yeah,
went back and teed off again. And then I guess while he was putting out, they found the golf ball.
yeah. Here's the ball that you lost 3 strokes
Yeah,
on.
exactly.
Yeah,
If it makes you feel any better, we did find it. No, it
yeah,
doesn't. It doesn't make me feel any better. That's hilarious.
yeah. It'll be interesting to see how the tour reacts to him. I mean, you hear all this talk about them limiting the flight of the ball, but
Hmm.
I can't see that happening. They're talking about going back to the Balata balls from the '90s.
Right.
Um, And I mean, they had the same conversations with Tiger.
Yeah.
And I saw Gary Player talking about how, oh, it's this is not something that's going to stop with Bryson. It's you're going to have 7 foot. He's talking about like NBA players who are going to gravitate toward golf now, and they're going to be
Right.
hitting the ball 450, 460. Um, and I don't see that. I mean, I think that the game is going to continue to evolve, but Bryson over the weekend was a great example of how you can't just use that strategy on any course and have it be effective.
Right. And I think it may be a little bit. I think that's an excellent point. You can't just use the strategy. I think also it just depends on how well you're swinging. Like
Yeah,
like like he clearly didn't have it. He didn't have the swing, the tempo, the timing all down. And I think that's kind of where my head goes with all this stuff is regardless of how far they're going to hit the ball, there's going to be weeks where it clicks everything. And we all experience that. The average golfer goes out there and it's like, I just had it today. Like I couldn't miss. I knew that my swing was going to go this way. And that's where I foresee a lot of this stuff is just because they can hit the ball 400 yards doesn't mean that they're going to do it every time. It doesn't mean it's going to be in play every time, which is
yeah,
part of the challenge of golf. And I think really if they go in and lengthen some of these golf courses, if they go back into this Tiger proofing era a little bit, all it's going to do is hurt the rest of the field because they're not going to be able to, the 280 average driver or the 300 yard driver, the course becomes unplayable to them. at some point where they just, they can't hit 3-woods into every par 4. That's not fair. So then Bryson is bombing it out there, or other Bubba Watsons, and just not able to compete with that. So,
well, it even felt that way a couple times seeing, and it's not just Bryson. I mean, I mentioned Matt Wolff. He
yeah.
hits it.
Oh my gosh.
Off the tee with a good roll.
Mm-hmm.
And you see these guys playing into par 5s with a wedge, and then you see Tiger Woods, who invented the proofing of courses.
Yeah.
And he's standing back there with a 4-iron. So it's got to be tough. But again, I mean, on Sunday you see Bryson paired up with Bernhard and Langer, and it's like, well, clearly, you can be hitting it 100 yards less than somebody and still beat them.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting point of view, the Matt Wolff thing of specifically of, he beat Bryson at the U.S. Open. Was it the U.S. Open? Yeah. U.S. Open this year in driving distance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I getting that right? Or am I saying?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was for the whole tournament, but that Sunday he did.
Yes.
And I mean, Bryson gets the headlines because he relishes in being that guy. But I mean, there are guys, Cameron Champ out there. I think he led a field over the weekend. So, it's not just him. And I think that ultimately it's not going to make as big a difference as people are acting like it will, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you're hitting at some really good points there, because, Champ, what he did for I mean, he was hitting 190 ball speeds coming off of the club face, and Tony Finau's done it too. And that's where Bryson is. So why all of a sudden is it just, Bryson bulked up? I mean, he had a mission. He had an idea. He goes, if I do this, he studied it, he figured it out, and it's worked. It doesn't mean it's for everyone though. And people can sustain, people can get that. I mean, I think Tony Finau has hit, ball speeds of 200, when he's really trying to get it out there. Not during play. I think he's done that like outside of just like goofing around on social media and stuff like that. But I don't think it's really the same as when we were back in the late 90s when Tiger was coming out. I mean, even John Daly, you go back to John Daly being, so different from, but again, to me, it comes back to putting the ball in play. Now, is there a dramatic difference between someone who can only hit it 200 yards off the tee versus someone that can hit it 350 or 325? Absolutely. They clearly have an advantage, but that's also why there's different tee lengths at a golf course, is to make the game fun for everyone.
Well, and I always kind of go back to Bryson's strategy is to chip into the par 4s. And DJ's strategy this week, where he just surgically dissected, one of the greatest courses in the world, was all every tee shot that I'm taking, I want to get to my spot for my second shot.
Right.
And to me, that's always a better approach. If you're comfortable with your 9-iron, why do you want to hit it so far as to be using your sandwich?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I totally agree with this. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the coming years. I don't think there'll be much of a change by any means, but I think it's interesting. I feel like, first off, it's like really weird to think that the Masters is only like 4 or 5 months away again. Yeah. Do you think they'll have fans at it in 2021? I think
they'll have some. The tournament that was the week before the Masters, I think it was in Houston.
Yep, that's right.
They did have some fans. And I also think that there will be some – I mean, when the season initially got canceled, I guess it was during the Players.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It was March, wasn't it? It was March.
Yeah, it was like first week of March.
Mm-hmm. And then June, the first week in June was when they came back.
Yeah, that was Memorial, or it was the week before the Memorial.
That's right. Yes.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, at the time they kind of just said, "All right, rest of the year, no fans." And I think that was the wise thing to do, given how unique this year has been. Yeah. But I do believe that there's going to be enough data that says if we're all wearing masks and we're all outside and the the capacity is capped at a certain point,
Right.
we're really not adding that much risk to
Yeah, I think the mass thing is critical. I thought it was interesting during the Tiger Woods tournament with Rory and Justin Rose and why am I blanking on the fourth at Payne Valley when they were there. That was kind of surprising, being that it's. I mean, I'm in Kansas City, Branson, Missouri isn't that far away.
Mm-hmm.
There were like, when I turned the TV on and I'm like looking at it, and they're like on the first tee, I'm like, there wasn't a single person in the gallery wearing a mask. And I was like, whoa, that seems a little weird that they didn't institute that at this tournament. And it was one of the kind of the first public tournaments, I feel like, that there were fans walking the course too. And so that was kind of interesting to just see. There's not really a question there. I just thought it was interesting that they did that. But you said earlier, okay, let's kind of digressed for a little bit there, but let's go back. You said something that I thought was interesting of you're a golf nerd. Give us an idea of the level of nerdness that you're talking about with golf.
I don't know. I mean, I've really gotten into it as this year has progressed, because we launched Sugar Golf in early 2020, and it was kind of a commitment between my business partner Chip and I to bring the most value to the golf community through a golf ball. And so we knew a decent amount about golf balls and about golf equipment, but we really didn't understand. If you take a bell curve of the entire world, players who play golf, you have the top end where a fractional change in their equipment can make a big difference because they're that good. Right. You then have the other end of the bell curve where any type of change to their equipment makes no difference.
Yeah.
And so we really kind of invested the time into learning to try and determine what is that one product and the one thing that we can deliver to the golf community that can have the biggest effect to the largest amount of people within the community. And so that's kind of where we landed on the product that we ended up creating, which is kind of a bulk model product of 3-piece urethane golf balls. And we sort of kind of getting into the story now, but when we initially then scoped out the ball we wanted, we sort of built out, these are the specs we want. This is the type of spin we want based on some other balls that we played. This is the rough idea of what we want dimple wise, and then we contacted various manufacturing partners to then test to see who was the best person who we could partner with to deliver that product to the industry.
Yeah, it's pretty novel. I mean, I feel like and help me if I'm right here. It's direct to consumer, right? It's not, you're taking out the middleman. There's no or middle person, probably a better way to say PPC a little bit. And you're taking out as much as you possibly can so that you can decrease the price. So help me understand, like you talked about, you knew a lot about golf balls. I mean, how much are you talking about you knew golf balls, and how much did that go into what you wanted to produce?
Well, when this journey started, I would say that I knew very little, but that I'm only saying that because of how much more I feel like I know today.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, I knew the difference between the construction and the cover of a ball. I knew what I could experience, and I'm sort of right in the middle of that bell curve that I referenced earlier.
Yeah.
I'm capable enough on a golf course to feel like the right equipment can make a small difference, but not to the point where the more I started playing 4-piece balls, I just didn't see the type of results that people were saying you would get out of that extra layer.
And for
so
the additional price point, I'm trying for the additional cost too of, a 3-piece, it works just fine,
Right. And that's where we landed on 3-piece. We were initially committed to 4-piece, and the more we thought about it, we're like, it's just a harder sell. It's an extra 20% in cost.
Right.
And the average golfer just is not going to see that much benefit for the price.
How hard? How in you know, I'm not your subject matter expert on sugar golf and golf balls, but a little bit. But like, how much do you feel like, or maybe of these golf balls that are out there that and we can say the Pro V1, we can say these upper echelon golf balls. Like, how much of a I don't know how to say this without being like, is that a waste for golfers, like the average golfer, to be playing that golf ball?
Well,
And I mean, I'm really just asking your opinion. I'm not trying to to lead you in anything. Yeah.
the Pro V1 has obviously been the measuring stick
Right.
that every golf ball gets compared to over the last 30 years. And that's kind of where we started. Is we said Pro V1 is a 3-piece urethane ball, and we
Mm-hmm.
said we want to compete with a Pro V1. We want to um, deliver a ball to the community that has the performance to compete directly with it, but not the cost. So
Right.
to answer your question, performance-wise, I think there's absolutely a reason to be playing a Pro V1. Um, price-wise, I I'm biased, but I don't see it. I believe in my heart that the Sugar golf ball
Mm-hmm.
can perform as optimally, if not greater than a Pro V1, and it's 50. I think it's 51% the price.
Yeah. It's
So
what is it? Is it 60? How much is it for a cube? I forget.
so it's $69 for 27 balls. The thing that we like to point out, because we always have people, Facebook and Instagram, quick to point out, well, I went to Vice's website and I put
Mm-hmm.
this many balls in my cart, or Titleist or TaylorMade or whoever, and they're just as cheap as you guys. Vice in particular, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Pro V1 never really compares to us price wise.
Right.
But every price that our competitors advertise is a subtotal, and
Oh
we
yeah.
never advertise subtotal. Maybe this is my wife is from Scotland, so she always talks about how insane it is that in the U.S. they advertise a price and then you go to check out and they add
Or
8% or whatever.
yes.
Um, and so we really liked that idea of advertising a price and having our customers get to the point where their credit cards get charged and seeing that price hasn't changed,
That's what it
because
was.
that always
Mm-hmm.
bothers me as a customer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
It
so
flirts on the line. It flirts on the line of false advertisement.
yeah,
Not you, not Sugar Golf, but these or these retailers and stuff like that. They're flirting with this line of like, oh, here's the price, and then, oh wait, no, there's 8% tax on that.
yeah, and we had a comment come across. Someone reached out to us, and they did this whole, they went to their cart and they said Vice is actually X, and then they accused us of misleading based
Mhm.
on based on what we were advertising.
Uh,
And so, we kind of drafted up a response to them, and we said, what you're experiencing is exactly what we're here to kind of educate the community on what our competitors are doing. You're experiencing the misleading of the customer that we're trying to avoid.
yeah, yeah. Talk a little, and that's phenomenal. I mean, that's the thing. Like what you're saying is you're almost trying to create an experience, a unique user experience, and maybe not kind of. That's probably a terrible way of me saying that, but you are creating a new experience. You're taking what is typically the norm, and you're trying to create something completely new. Like you said, like it's almost like a subscription to where this is what I'm going to pay a monthly fee. I know that's not what we're saying here, but like that's the charge I get every month. It's 20
Yeah,
bucks. It's 20 bucks. 20 bucks. Okay. For my golf balls, it's 67, right? $67.
69 for
69.
27.
Gosh, dang it. I keep flipping the numbers. Okay. So now I have a question. How did you end up on the 27 golf balls?
Well, um,
I have an
that kind
idea,
of
but I don't want to say it. I want to hear what you guys.
that really goes back to us talking about the best way to efficiently deliver a bulk. I like to say semi bulk. Um, Chip hates it when I say that, but semi bulk
Well,
package,
Chip's not
because
here, so you can say
yeah,
whatever you want. No.
yeah, I'll um, so in talking more and more about the best way to deliver uh, a semi bulk offering of golf balls, we kept going back to the shape of the packaging. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you're familiar with Dollar Shave Club.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what we were going for, is something that the packaging still looked good, but it was rugged, and
Yeah.
it was something that would arrive on your doorstep, and you open it up and you have golf balls.
Yeah.
We are sleeveless. We don't have sleeves. We don't sell our balls in dozen. Um, and so the more that we kind of iterated down that path of the proper way to package this offering, the more we kept going back to the simplicity of a cube.
Mm-hmm.
For any of the viewers, I guess, who I do have one of these here.
Yeah. I was
So
just,
it's a
I have it sitting right here too.
yeah. So
So,
it's a 5 inch by 5 inch by 5 inch mailer,
mm-hmm.
and within it is 27 golf balls arranged in a 3 by 3 by 3 layout.
Yep.
So once we settled on the cube as a packaging shape being the most efficient and effective way for us to deliver our product, we started thinking about, well, what are the numbers that we could cube? And
Mm-hmm.
8 didn't feel like enough. Uh,
Oh.
what's 4 cubed? 64 felt like too much.
Yeah.
And 27 was kind of, that's a good number, because that's enough where, for some people, 27 will last you for a year.
Yeah.
27 will not last me a year.
I was gonna say, it won't last me a year. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll need about 3 cubes a year.
Yeah.
But it ultimately, the cube is what we landed on, and then the ball, the quantity within the cube was kind of dependent on the way to properly package it.
Yeah. That's interesting. How is that hard for your manufacturing partner? Is that hard for the? Well, I mean, I guess first of all, my first thought when you're saying this is like, how did that conversation go when you went to the manufacturing? You're like, no, we don't want sleeves. We don't want. That's like asking for a shirt without sleeves. I mean, those exist, but they're called tank tops. But I mean, it's still kind of like that a little bit.
Well, I don't know. I can't go into too much detail about our manufacturing partner, but give you some context about the industry, I mean, most of the major brands in our industry who we compete with partner with some manufacturer who also is partnered with maybe some of their competitors.
Right.
And so we went into this and we kind of had a dog and pony show to try and select the correct one. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, we understood that the most healthy relationship with them was a mutually beneficial one. And we were fortunate to find one that stood out above the rest. And we were fortunate that they were interested in working with us. And pretty much from the start, we had already kind of scoped out what we wanted to do. So we had our brand, we had the packaging. We actually, I still remember the day that we landed on the cube. We grabbed an old Amazon box that I had sitting out that had come in the previous day, and we cut it up into different squares, and then we taped this cube together and loaded it full of golf balls. So we had already come up with that design, and really when we approached the manufacturer, we approached them transparently and said, "This is what we're trying to do. This is how we're trying to change the industry. Mm-hmm. How do you see us working together?" And our partner, who we ended up with, has just been phenomenal, and they've worked with us throughout this whole process, and we've just been extremely satisfied with our experience with them.
That's awesome. I mean,
and the performance of the balls. I mean, the balls are awesome.
Yeah, no, it's all about the packaging. Yeah, no. Yeah. Talk about Sugar Golf. What is it? What does it mean? Where did it come from?
Well, Sugar was derived by that was kind of a result of the cube. So our Sugar Cube is our product. Mm-hmm. But we love the simplicity of the brand and kind of what, when you think about sugar, it's just such a fundamental, simple product, if you want to call it that, a commodity. Right. And we feel like the right golf equipment, especially golf balls, should be the same way, where they should be reliable, um, just a pure product with consistent, um, I guess, consistency from package to package,
Hmm.
uh, and ultimately, the product is one area where we wanted to make sure we had consistency, but also with our offering, we wanted to ensure that everything we were doing had value in mind, had the highest value that we could bring to the community. And that's kind of where we always go back to when people ask us about our mission statement, or what our goals are. Our intention is to deliver the highest value product to the industry, with the hopes that people get on board. And I mean, I talk about our manufacturing partner, but
Hmm.
we feel similarly about our customers, where we don't plan to have tour sponsorships, and
Right.
we don't plan to have massive marketing budgets. Our hope is that if we deliver enough value to the industry, customers will kind of get on board with our vision, and if you want to call it our mission,
Hmm.
um, to being transparent to the industry and delivering value. And as a result, we can continue to iterate as a business, continue to grow into other ancillary products, be it apparel or maybe other equipment within the industry, but that we will get repeat customers because of the value that we deliver.
Yeah. I think customers or consumers or clients or whatever you want to call them, that, everyone is really focused on value. And I think I think you've heard that for, I don't know, maybe 5-10 years. I feel like there's been a shift. I feel like it was all about name brand, name brand, name brand. I'm not saying that are not a name brand. I'm just saying, I think you're in the right space to start getting people to be aware of this product, because they are very value focused. What am I getting for my dollars? If I'm spending this much money, is it worth it? When you talk
Yeah,
about like the per ball cost, when you guys are saying out the door, I think it's important to say out the door, it's $2.55. It's $2.55 compared to, your Pro V1s, which are up over $4,
yeah.
or other competitors. I shouldn't just single out Pro V1 there. But okay, so talk a little bit about, we've talked about the packaging, we've talked about Sugar Golf, and talk a little bit about the performance of the golf ball. What can someone expect if they were to purchase this from you all?
We get that question a lot, and we do have. If you go to our website, www.sugar.golf, not .com,
Right. Yeah.
sugar.golf. Um,
Yep.
if you go to our website, there's a sub page dedicated toward performance. I think it's under the header "How We Stack Up."
Yep.
But we did have, our partner perform head-to-head robo testing against the 2020 Pro V1, just so that we could get some quantitative data. We were getting enough questions about, oh, what does the ball play like,
Yep.
and that we felt like we had a pretty good answer for that. But ultimately, people started asking about things like smash factor and spin rate,
Right.
and so we have put all that information up on the website, just in case anyone is a golf nerd and wants to know about
Right. And look at that.
what,
Yeah.
yeah, what the average RPM is off a driver face.
Hmm.
Um, but I will say it plays like a softer Pro V1, and I'll use Pro V1 as an example, like I said earlier, because it is such a measuring stick in our industry.
Hmm.
Um, Pro V1 has always been a little too hard for me. Um, I think they have a compression rating like near 100 or 105.
Yeah.
Um, I used to play Vice Pro quite a bit, and I liked that the Vice Pro felt a little bit softer than a Pro V1, and I would say our ball is a slightly softer Vice Pro.
Hmm.
Um, I
Interesting.
mean that's the way it feels to me. It feels similar in performance to a Vice Pro, but it's a little bit softer. I think it feels better around the greens. Um, you know, I I love the feel inside 100 yards. It's awesome. It's the first ball that I've ever felt like I can completely control, and maybe that's because I've played a bunch of rounds with it over the course of 2020. But
Testing.
yeah, it's got a great feel, and distance wise, I mean we're confident that no one will see a decrease in distance. So
Yeah.
You're increasing your ability to feel and control the ball without losing anything, sacrificing distance.
Yeah, I think people definitely go to the website because I think you tested it in two different types of swing speeds. So it did
Yeah.
kind of like a high swing speed, and then you did a low swing speed, and it did spin rates and everything. It outperformed the Pro V1. So I have a cube here that, unlike Bill's, it looked like yours was empty. Mine has golf balls in it, and so I will be testing those out. And it's Tuesday. I'll be playing Friday, so we're gonna delay posting this out, but I will have feedback on that for that reason, so I can talk about what I think about the ball, and I'll play it against a couple other balls and just see how I feel. I'm interested. The softer than a Pro V1 sounds interesting to me to feel what that's going to feel like. Now I feel like you might have just put some thoughts in my head, and maybe I shouldn't have heard that, and now I'll be thinking about it as I'm hitting some shots. I'll be like, did it feel softer than a Pro V1?
I think you'll notice it. And one thing that I did early on when I started, when, like I said, we sort of developed that spec sheet of our wish list when we started seeking people to assist with this, is that we played around with a lot of balls and kind of landed on, this is our favorite in terms of feel, this is our favorite in terms of distance. Like I said, we went back and forth about construction and ultimately landed on 3-piece. But the easiest way to tell that I've found is if you can bounce a ball on a wedge. Like, if you give me 5 balls now, since I've done this so much over the last 12 months, and just, if you wiped the logos off them and let me bounce them up and down on a wedge, I can tell you exactly which one is ours, because it responds so well, and it has such a good springy feel, but it still feels softer than any other ball that I have.
That's
And granted, I've never played the super soft, like I know Vice has like a Pro Soft.
right.
Callaway has one that's soft. So I don't want to overplay the softness, because I don't think I wouldn't chalk it up. It's got a compression rating of 85, and I know like the Vice Pro Soft has a compression rating of 40. So it's not in that, extra soft territory, but
right.
We feel like it has the right balance.
Well, and you're comparing it to what you know. I mean, you're saying how I've played these other golf balls and I've felt the difference, and then you're doing this wedge test, bouncing it. I don't think it's not unbiased for you to say anything wrong there, but yeah, I'm excited to try it out. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I'll go out to Sycamore and I'll play 18 holes, hopefully 18 holes. We're not teeing off till like 2:30. So we're getting to the edge of daylight nowadays where we can't play after work anymore. It's too dark. So, but where, for the listeners, where are you guys located?
Austin, Texas.
Nice. Okay. So go ahead.
We do have a fulfillment partner who we work with, who's actually based out of Missouri. And we chose a more central location because we wanted to be able to serve the continental U.S. Consistently. We didn't want to have our fulfillment in LA and then be getting a lot of orders from Southern Florida.
Right.
So I guess to that point, I mean, we're headquartered in Austin. We have a small team underneath us who's mostly here. But all of our fulfillment is kind of hands off. And that's one thing that we really like to emphasize is, I mean, this is getting more into kind of the operations, but I do think it's important to say, although we're a new brand, we were adamant from the start about building this to be scalable and building it so that the customer experience was not that of, what someone might call a startup.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't want to be hustling to, post ads to Facebook and then running out to mail the day's orders. So any of our orders that come in through our website, our fulfillment partner recognizes them and they pick and ship them. All of our orders are shipped via FedEx two business day one rate.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of where you are in the continental U.S., you should be receiving any order you place with us within 2 business days of placing.
Yeah, I can attest to that. Mine came, now granted I'm in Kansas and Missouri is literally next door. So, but it came quickly and it was easy to track and it showed up, right on time. So it was, I can attest to that, that it was definitely something. I think the experience, that's one thing, like, first off, I didn't ask. I think it's appropriate for me to say, I didn't ask you guys to send me anything. You guys did that. And you just show it, and it just showed up. Chip emailed me and said, hey, just FYI, we've processed a cube for you. It's on its way. I was blown away by that. And then the experience of it coming was really, really cool, of opening it up. First off, there is not a lot of wasted space in it. I will say that it shows up in a, I will liken to your Amazon cutting up the box. It does come in a brown box, but then inside that is the cube. And it's very, and like, I opened it up, and I'll post some pictures on social media about it, but it was, it's really cool. I will have to say it's different, but it's really cool. I was like blown away by the packaging, because it's very simple. But the design keeps it very simple too, even down to the logo. And then once you open it up, I would like to say like every golf ball was facing me perfectly. It was pretty darn close, actually. Yeah. When I opened it up, I was like, oh, wow.
You can chalk that up to our manufacturing partner. And I've experienced that. I mean, I got like 12 of these in my apartment. And most of them, when I open them up, they are facing like straight up looking at me. And I think the reason why is because it's packed in so tightly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tried to, after I had opened up and messed with the cube a little bit, I was like, oh, I need to take some social media pictures. And it took me, I'm not kidding, like 5 minutes to get them to all align the way I wanted them to, because they're so tight in there. You move one, it moves all the other ones. It's like, dang it. I'm like holding it and like moving it and stuff like that. But it really did, from an experience point of view, I think you guys are starting to, or you're on to something different. I loved it. So I was excited.
And with we actually do offer multiple packaging preferences, is what we call them, at our checkout page. So what you experienced there was kind of the gift packaging, and that's like, like if my brother's wife wants to buy him a cube for Christmas, she's not going to want it shipped via FedEx in its original packaging, and so she'll add that gift packaging. So that's that second layer. Most of our orders, though, we recommend that customers order them in their original packaging just to reduce waste. So they'll come like this, and I mean they'll show up.
Oh, wow.
With the label on this box, and they'll show up on a doorstep. And typically they're a little banged up, but our packaging does the job, and doesn't affect the performance of the balls.
Yeah, it shouldn't. I hope not. But so you're in Austin. What do you got, a home course down there?
Have you ever been to Austin?
A long time ago, probably 20 plus years. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I didn't play golf down in Austin. So. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I have a preference with, I mean, there are some awesome private courses here, and like I have a friend of mine who belongs to UT's golf course. It's called UT Golf Club, but so it's where like the University of Texas golf team plays.
Yep.
But it's just, the place is incredible,
immaculate. Yeah.
And like you walk into the locker room and you have like Jordan Spieth's Ryder Cup bag sitting up there, and like Ben Crenshaw like walking around, and I know like I think Sergio Garcia is a member there too. There are a couple of pros who just have ongoing memberships there because it's just such a great course. So that's the best course I've played here. I don't get to play it regularly because I'm not a member.
Right.
There are some cool public courses though. There's a 36-hole course a little bit south of downtown that one of the 18s is kind of linksy. And so that, I love links style golf because I have no accuracy off the tee. So like they're like hole number 10 at this course I'm talking about, Roy Kaiser. I mean, you can literally, I say this anytime I have a buddy in town, I'm like, it's impossible to lose your tee shot here. And everyone's always like, oh, watch me. But it really is. You have like 200 yards of fairway on both sides. And so it's just,
holy cow.
Yeah.
So it sounds like because you're not accurate off the tee, that's what maybe potentially gave birth to the idea of sugar golf a little bit. You were tired of losing golf balls.
I mean, we have this on our website, but it's true. There's one hole on one of the local courses we play. That's just it's a traditional island hole.
Yeah, the par three
Um,
islands. Yes.
yeah, yeah, it's like 17 at Sawgrass or
Mm-hmm.
17, 16,
Yeah, that's
17.
right. 17. Mm-hmm. 16
Um,
is a par 5. 17 is a par 3.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and we everyone has that joke where they get they whether it's trying to cut a corner or a skinny fairway with trees lining it or an island par three where they're like, not to dog on Top Flight, but it's like, oh, where's my Top Flight?
That's not dogging on them. It's just truth.
Yeah, no, but it's like, let me reach for the range ball at the bottom of my bag,
Right.
and what that always results in is you hitting a bad shot because you're not confident with the ball you're playing.
Yep.
And that is an emotion and an experience that we believe every golfer knows really well, and that we really want to emphasize to anyone who's considering us is like, this is a phenomenal golf ball that you can get 27 of them for, if you buy 2 of these, you get them as low as $2.37 a ball.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned 255.
Yeah, that was for one cube. Sorry, I should have said that correctly. Yeah.
So we offer an additional $5 off each cube if you order 2 or more.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is, in my opinion, solves this problem that we all face in having a tough shot and wanting to play quality equipment, but not wanting to lose something that you just, if you buy a dozen Pro V1s, I think it's like $5 a ball.
Yeah, it's expensive.
And, yeah, I'm not going to be hitting a Pro V1 or a Pro VX on an island par 3.
It makes you think twice. Like, honestly, like I'll go to the first tee and I'll be like, well, let's play this old beat up ball. Not old, but I've maybe played a few rounds with it already, and it's just like, yeah, let's pull that. If I lose that one, okay, whatever. But yeah, I think it's interesting because, like, I feel like there's such a just the cost of like a driver now is getting so expensive. Like, I remember back when 15, 20 years ago, it was like $300 was the kind of the driver mark. It was like, oh, it's $299. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it was like, $399. Now we're hitting $499, and we're hitting or $4 or $549 for drivers sometimes. Yeah. And it's just, it's crazy. Like, when are we going to hit the $600 mark? And I'm sure there are, but I'm more talking for the mainstream drivers and stuff like that. Like, I know there's probably drivers out there that are $600 or $700 or $800 or $1,000, but it's crazy. Like, I just think for the price that, like, I bought a new driver this year, and I just remember and thinking like, wow, that was way more than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's like the price of a laptop.
Yes. I mean, yes. And here's the funny thing is, like, this is what I think is funny, at least me, is a lot of women play the game, but more men than women play it. We have to go home and justify that price to our wives.
Yeah.
Of like, yes, I would like to go spend $500 on a driver. And she's like, what? Right. Why? Because I need a new one. Why do you need a new one? I think that
I snapped the old one over my knee.
Yeah. Luckily, I did not snap mine this year, but part of during the course of a swing, it was like 15 years old. It started to I clearly have hit it way too many times, and I've developed a pretty severe rattle in the head. And so I was like, okay, it's time. So my wife was okay with that. I literally said, it just broke. And she's like, did you break it? I was like, no, it broke in a swing. Your brother was with me, so he can testify that it was actually in the course of normal play. So it's kind of, I think you're onto something. I think the value, it'll shift to, well, I'm not saying this is why you guys did this, but they're spending $500 or $600 on a driver. Well, where are they going to reduce what they're spending? They're probably going to do it on golf balls, and I think golf balls are, I think it's becoming a tighter market. I thought it was always interesting in the late 90s and early 2000s is Titleist just dominated the market, owning 90 to 95% of the market share. And that was really easy for golf, pro shops and stuff like that to carry only Titleist, because they knew that 9 out of the 10 golfers walking through the door are going to buy a Titleist golf ball. I think that's just I know it's probably shifted. I really don't know what the market share is now. I'm sure it's not too much different. Maybe it's 80 to 85% that Titleist owns it, but I know there's a lot of manufacturers that are doing a better job at it. So
yeah, and I mean the direct to consumer, say direct to consumer, but more so e-commerce side of the golf equipment industry is still so minuscule compared to other product industries that we feel really optimistic about our opportunity for growth, just because e-commerce is such a small aspect of the equipment industry as it stands today. But yeah, one thing also that when you were just talking about different experiences using these that I love to reference is having one of these in the back of a cart for a bachelor party is awesome.
That's awesome. One of the cubes in the back. That's awesome. Yeah.
Like both my brothers have gotten married in the last 14 months. And so, as we have been iterating on this business, we'll kind of bring out a cube. And this was before we had launched. And it really struck me as to like how cool it was, because losing balls on a bachelor party is just a part of the experience. Yeah. And so like having one of these per foursome was awesome, because it's like, no one's going to lay up at a bachelor party.
At least they shouldn't be. And if they do, then they're out of the bachelor party.
If they do, they're going to hear about it for the rest of the weekend. So just having kind of like it really does feel like when one of these is in the back of the cart, it's like an unlimited source of like brand new quality golf balls.
It's a bottomless pit. You're like, is there a bottom? I don't know. Yeah.
So just being able to like hit one in the water and pick one out of the back and toss it to one of your buddies is a pretty cool experience.
That's awesome, man. Well, tell us, tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you or how they can order a golf ball. I know you've kind of talked about it a couple times, but take us out with telling us how they can find your product.
So our website again is www.sugar.golf. And all of our sales take place on our website. If you do, order 2 or more, you can get $5 off each cube. But I mean, we only have one product on the website, and it's the Sugar Cube. It's 27 3-piece urethane balls. And if you have any questions, we have a contact form on there. Feel free to send us an email. Ask us if there's anything we could elaborate on. We're always wanting to hear feedback about the way that we're presenting ourselves to the industry. So if there's anything we're being unclear about, I would absolutely recommend anyone reach out to us with questions.
Awesome.
But I guess in closing, we've had an awesome time being a part of this industry, and we're excited to continue to bring value to it.
Good. Well, I think that's a great mission for you guys. And I thank you, Bill, for taking the time, and Chip, who unfortunately couldn't be here, but appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully we can help get the word out for you and start getting some cubes spread across the whole United States. It'll be everywhere.
Yeah. Pour some sugar all around the country.
There you go. That's awesome. Well, thank you, Bill.
Yep. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.